could always write all this cool stuff, publish it. How do you guys publish it? It's on a blog. The word blog is almost a little passé now, because really blogs are integrated into the website. So however you want to call your website, your Facebook page, whatever, let's just call it content. You really just want to write content. And again, it's being the resource. So I had a couple clients that were transferring domain names to my server for a project. So as I was doing this, I thought that would be a great blog piece. How difficult is it to transfer domain names? So I wrote a piece on this. This piece has become one of the highest Googled items on my website, because it's not really what I do every day, but it's something that I have to do once in a while, and I offered some tips on it. So what happens, Google picks this up. People, when they're looking for how do you transfer a domain name, they put it in there. So let's look at how I did this on the blog. In the title, very descriptive. Try to be descriptive in your titles. Google has different analytics, different ways of crawling through your website, algorithms, and they change all the time. But what doesn't change is how awesome it looks. It's always looking for awesome content. So sometimes people will put very nondescript titles. I try to put very descriptive titles. The other thing that you can also do is make sure you use a lot of keywords in your piece. I know you can't read this really, really well, but when you're writing your piece, and this is all of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, maybe 9 or 10 paragraphs. It's not a huge essay. It just kind of lays it all out. But I use all the words that I want people to find. Domain names transferring. I use my name a couple times in the piece, that sort of thing. So that way, as people Google for this, they'll find all the information they want. Okay, that sounds like a lot of gobbledygook, I know. But basically, just write, but make sure it's descriptive. Don't use abbreviations without spelling out the words. That's a big piece as well, because if you say SEO, what's that mean? That mean, search and emergency operations, or is that search engine optimization? So it's really simple things like that that you can really enhance your piece. But putting that on your blog is very, very simple. The other thing I recommend, actually, just to show you, is try to break up your text with some photos that are meaningful. A lot of times, and I'm going to show you an example of a blog I actually like, but it's a little too wordy. Think of it like the way you like to read things. You don't want to just have huge amounts of text. Break it up with some images. The other things you can do are 3 items that I like to use a lot of, which I call flow-through content, video, and audio. Flow-through content is other people's content that you can use or refer to. And that's similar to the example I used before of holding up the newspaper and saying, hey, Chad Kroger, here's what he did. So every morning I read those 5 newspapers. If I like something as I'm reading it, when on the bottom of almost every article now, there's like a share this button. Almost every blog has that. We're going to talk about that in a second. So as I like something, I might tweet that out. I might email it to myself so I can write about it later. I might email it to a client or to a friend who I think will like it. So for example, whenever I see something on Taylor Swift, Jillian is a huge Taylor Swift fan. She actually texted me last night. She says, I wish I was Taylor Swift.
It's true. Very true. It is true. And I'm not ashamed.
Yeah. It was quite funny, actually. So anyways, whenever I see something on Taylor Swift, I email it or text it to her and share that. But from a client point of view, I've had clients thank me for that. I've had clients say, you know what, we need to talk about this. So it helps my business, helps me be a resource. And as far as my writing goes, when I want to use flow-through content, what I'll do is I might say that says something about health officials warn schools about let's pretend it says the dangers of social media. So I might reference that in a blog post and say, well, I disagree, I agree, here are the reasons why. Print the first 2 or 3 paragraphs of that story, a link to the rest of the story. I'm done. It's simple, simple, simple. Okay. Also in your blog, as best you can, link back to other people. So what do I mean by that? So say I was to use a piece of flow-through content from the Vancouver Sun. I wouldn't just say, I read this in the Vancouver Sun. I would say, I read this in the Vancouver Sun, and then the words Vancouver Sun, I would hyperlink. I don't even know if they use that term anymore, but link it back to vancouversun.com. Why would I do that? Google, again, looks for how many times you link out to other sites and how many times people link back into your site. That is part of the equation for how high you rank up in Google. So in one blog piece, let's go back, you can use a descriptive title, use a lot of keywords, use your name, link back to 1 or 2 other places, and that will